welcome to the Spring 2022 University of Tulsa College of Law hooding ceremony. At this time, I would like to invite the University of Tulsa Chaplain Jeffrey Francis to offer an invocation for our hooding program this evening.
Thank you so much. This is the early fireworks. Let us pray. Gracious God, we are deeply thankful for you calling us here this day to celebrate, to honor the Spring 2022 graduates of the College of Law. We pray your Spirit's presence to be with those who receive their hoods and are awarded their degrees. May our time together be directed by your hand, filled with joyful smiles, with warm hearts, touched by solemn ritual. Today is truly a day of thanksgiving, gracious God, for your guidance in bringing us to this place at this hour for this joyous occasion. To you, holy God, our Creator, the one who redeems us and sustains us, we pray. Amen.
You may be seated. This evening, it's my honor and privilege to celebrate the accomplishments of our graduates who have earned degrees in our JD program, our LLM program, our Masters of Jurisprudence program in Indian law and energy law. On behalf of myself and the faculty and the staff of the University of Tulsa College of Law, congratulations to our students on your success and your tremendous accomplishments. It is further an honor to welcome the family and friends and supporters of our graduates who have traveled far and near to be here this evening. Today's celebration includes not just our graduates, but it also includes all of you, those of you in our audience. This moment, this important moment for our graduates just would not be possible if it would not have been for your support, your encouragement, your understanding, and your sacrifice. Graduates, I think it's just fitting today, given the love and support that you've received from those here in attendance, that we take a moment and allow you to salute those here in attendance who have loved you, supported you, and just been with you through every step of your legal education. Please join me in applauding and saluting those in this particular audience supporting you today. I also want to take this moment to recognize my colleagues, those members of the faculty of the TU College of Law, those persons who have pushed you, challenged you, listened to your dreams, listened to your aspirations, answered your questions, shared a laugh with you, or maybe even a tear from time to time. But they have been here to guide you and support you, and they are committed to continue to be there to support you for many years to come. Join me in saluting your faculty and your teachers. To our graduates, today marks a milestone in your life. However, it's important for you to understand that milestones are not one of a kind. There's all kinds of milestones in life. There's a child who gets the training wheels off his or her bike, who learns how to navigate that bike and to have fun with their parents watching. It's also a teenager who drives a car by themselves for the first time in traffic under the watchful eye of a parent. There's also the wedding day that might come for a bride or a groom, which is a milestone in their life, or for a family who welcomes a newborn. These are all milestones in life that we recognize. Milestones are important. Milestones are valuable. But milestones, if I could argue today, have at least three real major components. Milestones require us or move us to consider the past. Milestones move us to appreciate the present. And milestones give us an opportunity to concentrate on the future. Just briefly here, considering the past. Today, in preparation for this graduation ceremony, perhaps in the last few hours, perhaps this week, you've had some thoughts about the past. You may have had some thoughts about when you first decided you wanted to be an attorney. You may have had some thoughts about the first time you decided that you would enter the University of Tulsa College of Law. You probably had some thoughts about your first year, and perhaps you were called upon in a class by Professor Parker, or maybe Professor Lampkin had you, answer some questions, or maybe you were in legal writing, and that first draft that you submitted had a little bit more ink on it than you expected. You may have had all these things run on your mind because these are things that are a part of your past and a part of your history. Your family sitting here in this audience, they're thinking about the past too. They're thinking about when you were a toddler. They're thinking about as you grew up. But now they're looking at you and they're saying, that's my young professional. That young woman, that young man, that person, that husband, that wife is someone that we've seen grow up and we're so proud of. Milestones make us think about the past. They also make us appreciate the present. Phil Jackson, a successful NBA basketball coach, had to coach Michael Jordan, a man with a little bit of an ego. He had to also get 4 or 5 other people to play with him. The way he did that, he got his team to think about the present. Let's just think about today. Let's focus on what's going on today. And a milestone is important because it allows you to think about the present. I mean, isn't it interesting? And it's not every day that we put on a robe and regalia and we march behind bagpipes. It just doesn't happen every day. But today, what's going on today is important. It's a milestone for you. So enjoy this moment. Enjoy this evening. Enjoy the night tonight when you're with your family. Enjoy it. Suck it up. Don't let 1 ounce of this moment get away from you, because milestones are important because they make us focus on the present. Finally, milestones are important because they trigger us to concentrate on the future. In the short term, you'll be concentrating on the bar exam, and we have every confidence that you're going to be successful and navigate that. We don't have any concerns about that. But it also is important to make sure that you're thinking about your future, about what kind of lawyer you're going to become, what kind of attorney you're going to become. And we encourage you to take the spirit of cooperation, to be a problem solver. We don't have to look forward to see there are many problems in our nation. We don't have to look any farther than the people of Ukraine to understand that there are problems in our world. But the University of Tulsa tonight is sending some problem solvers out in the world, and we are proud of you. So what about this future? What about this future? What about these dreams that we have? Well, my prayer, my view, and our hope is that it's going to be both professionally and personally robust and rewarding. To explore that topic, today we are very fortunate. We have a successful lawyer who's going to talk to you about something to take with you about what's going to go on in the future. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our speaker for tonight's hooding ceremony, Sarah Hill, the Attorney General of the Cherokee Nation and alumna of the College of Law. Sarah Hill was appointed to serve as Attorney General of the Cherokee Nation in 2019. Prior to that, she spent a decade in the nation's Office of Attorney General, served as the Cherokee Nation's first Secretary of Natural Resources. Her legal career has entirely been in Indian country, where she's worked on a wide range of issues and has often focused on environmental and natural resources issues. She served as counsel on cases involving Oklahoma v. Tyson and the Cherokee Nation versus the Sequoia Fields. Attorney General Hill has a bachelor's degree from Northeastern State University in Tahlequah. She also has a Juris Doctorate from the University of Tulsa College of Law. She's won numerous awards, and her legal experience is impeccable. Please join me in welcoming Attorney General Hill to the podium.
It's such a great honor to be here today with all of you to celebrate this moment of your accomplishment with your family and with your friends. can't express to you how great it is to be back in this building. After such a long time, I didn't know that I would ever wear these robes again. It's an honor to be here with all of you. There's so many different things I would like to talk to you about, so many different things that I've learned over the past few years. I'd like to talk to you about how important your early legal career is, all the different things that you should be trying out to understand what the practice of law can bring to you, all the things that you can bring to the practice of law. I'd like to talk to you about how important it is to preserve the relationships that you have and to preserve your own well-being, because this practice of law, this career that you're embarking on, can eat your life if you let it. And all of these people up here who love you and who invested so much time in you, how important it is that you prioritize them in your life. I'd like to talk to you about failure, about how inevitable that is in a legal career, about the first time you're going to fail yourself, or worse yet, the first time that you're going to fail your client. Those are all things that I would like to talk to you about, but I have little time. And so instead, I'm going to focus on something that I think that is even more important for you to walk out into the practice of law with, and that is talk about the rule of law, talk about the power of the law to restore, and then talk about the role of the advocate. In the 1830s in the United States, there was a period of time that we would later call the Indian removal, and it involved a lot of different tribes. It certainly involved the 5 tribes, the Chickasaw, Choctaw, Cherokee, Seminole, and Muskogee Creek nations that lived in the southeastern part of the United States. You know, the Constitution, when it was drafted, had specific language in it that said that the treaties made with Indian tribes would be part of the supreme law of the land, and that the judges in every state would be bound to those treaties. It elevated it beyond what had even been in the previous Articles of Confederation. It elevated the role of treaties in American law. And there was a generation of treaties that were signed between the Cherokee Nation and the other 5 tribes and the United States. Treaties that made promises, serious and solemn promises, that those lands would always be theirs to occupy and to live on. And those promises were part of the law. But in the 1830s, the rule of law had this major challenge, and that was there was this hunger amongst the non-Indian population for the lands and the resources of the tribal people. And the rule of law began to break down, and Andrew Jackson would eventually, in violation of the treaties that his government had signed, in violation of the Supreme Court precedent that had been laid down, which sealed that tribal governments were legal entities with their own rights, not subject to state jurisdiction, he removed them anyway, in violation of the law. And the tribes were then brought to this area of the United States. And the tribes understood that this had been a violation of the rule of law, but there were new treaties that were signed for this territory, so they were careful. They were understandably skeptical about the United States' willingness and ability to protect them. So there were new treaties, and there were 2 specific provisions that the tribes insisted upon. First of all, they insisted upon that their land be held in fee simple by the tribe, that it be owned in fee simple by the tribe, because they understood that there was no more complete or total form of ownership that the Western law could provide them than that. And secondly, they insisted that they never be part of any state, ever. They'd had enough experience with that in Georgia, where the Georgia government had harassed, especially the Cherokees, and caused problems for them. So they didn't ever want to be part of any state ever again. And the United States gave its solemn word then to the tribes that it would obey and it would maintain that. And that became part of the supreme law of the land again. But because all of you understand, of course, that today you're sitting in the state of Oklahoma, you know the United States did not keep those promises either. And the rule of law suffered again. And the tribes in Oklahoma had other things that they had to deal with at that time period. In the late 1800s, their lands were allotted, although they had been promised ownership in fee simple, and Oklahoma became a state in 1906. When my father was born in 1945, that was the state of the universe. The governments of the tribes were being actively suppressed by the United States, and in 1936, Oklahoma state courts had decided that they had total and complete criminal jurisdiction over every bit of Indian country in the entire state of Oklahoma. They gave themselves that power in Oklahoma, and the rule of law suffered again. So I think it would be fair for the people around the time my dad was born, the Cherokees at that time, to say the rule of law must not apply. The rule of law must be different for Indian people and for tribal governments, and for some reason, the rule of law that protects other people must not protect us. But tribal governments didn't look at it that way. Tribal people did not buy into that level of cynicism. They did something different and far more extraordinary. They believed in the rule of law. They committed to it utterly, and they said, no, we have legal rights. We believe in the rule of law, and we will take these challenges to the courts themselves. We will fight the United States in their own courts and force them to listen to what we have to say. We will force them to face the rule of law in their own courts. And that's what they did. Of course, the tribes can't do that. A tribe is an entity. So the people that had to do that were tribal lawyers and tribal leaders who had to take these cases. So they began to thoughtfully consider, what are the cases we could bring? And they began to attack some of the foundations that had been laid down by Oklahoma. They began to attack Oklahoma's criminal jurisdiction in dependent Indian communities, in tribal trust lands, in tribal restricted lands. And they attacked those in the state's own courts and said, you have to follow federal law. The rule of law demands it. And they began to win. And in 1989, Oklahoma completely overturned their decision in 1938, which has said they had criminal jurisdiction. Oklahoma was forced to admit, we do not have criminal jurisdiction over Indian country. It was an extraordinary moment. But the tribes did not stop there because the tribes' rights did not end there. So they went back to court. So here we are in 1989. In 1990s, there's a whole new lot of cases filed by the tribes, this time in the area of taxation, saying that Oklahoma has no right to tax tribes on motor fuels, on tribal car tax. They have no right to attack the tribes on income tax. And they went up to the U.S. Supreme Court multiple times, and they won again and again and again, vindicating their rights under federal law. And the rule of law began to be vindicated for the tribes. And so as it turns out, there are ways and opportunities. When the rule of law fails in this country, the tribal advocates and tribal lawyers can go into the courts and demand justice, and they can't receive it. And so tribal advocates, people that I know, people who practiced Indian law in 1977, when it was not that cool to practice Indian law, continued the fight. And up to the 10th Circuit in the Murphy case, it was a criminal case involving a criminal defendant, but the briefing came straight out of Indian country, out of tribal lawyers, like many of you might be, out of advocates who were non-Indians, but who were fighting on the behalf of the rule of law. And of course, the 10th Circuit would decide that the Muskogee Reservation had never been disestablished. The U.S. Supreme Court would later decide the same thing, and within a year, the reservations of all the 5 civilized tribes were acknowledged by the state of Oklahoma. How does this matter to you? You might be asking yourself. Maybe you don't care about Indian law, maybe you don't want to practice it. I think it matters to you because you're walking out of the area of your formal legal education. You are ready to become advocates. You're ready to walk into those situations where you will have to make decisions about what it means, and you're going to wield tremendous power in the courts. Lawyers wield tremendous power on behalf of their clients. You can make decisions that destroy a homeland, and you can make arguments that restore it. And that power is something that you have to take very seriously, and you have to be very thoughtful about how you use it. You might wonder why I would think that you would be so powerful. And I think that because when I sat in those same chairs that you were sitting in 2003, I'm a Cherokee citizen. No one had ever talked to me about the fact that the University of Tulsa College of Law is the only law school in the country on an Indian reservation. No one ever mentioned that to me because people didn't realize that that was the case. And today, it is an undeniable fact. You are graduates of a law school on an Indian reservation. And that's an extraordinary change in the world that you have seen happen over the course of just a few years. Finally, I just want to remind you that as you practice law, as you wield this incredible power, that the law has the power to restore, and that means that you have the power to restore. You have the power to wield that. You're going to be an advocate for your client, and you should be, but you are also officers of the court, and you have an obligation to protect and defend the rule of law. And that's not just an ABA model rule, although it is, but it's also something that protects our nation. It protects the foundations of this country that all of us love, and you are accepting special obligations under that. So I ask you, as you practice law, think about the rule of law. Think about how you can use the law to restore your clients, to restore the nation, because if you, my soon-to-be fellow graduates of the University of Tulsa College of Law, do not stand up and protect our nation, do not protect the rule of law, who else can we depend on? Thank you so much, and congratulations. I'm so incredibly proud of all of you.
Thank you, Attorney General Sarah Hill, for that those inspiring remarks. We are now really excited. We will begin by moving to our hooding ceremony here. It is now my honor to begin that ceremony. Associate Dean Karen Grundy will announce the names of the graduates. Please hand the dean your card when you enter the excuse me, flip the page. We're going to begin with our Associate Dean providing at least the awards for our students here who have demonstrated excellence in their performance at school. We'll begin with the valedictorian address.
It is my honor now to present the awards to outstanding graduate students. Our first award tonight will be the Martin Fellows Smith Award, presented to a graduating student designated by the faculty as the most outstanding student in the College of Law. Scholastic average and exhibited qualities of leadership are considered for this award. The 2022 recipient of the Martin Fellows Smith Award is Sarah Sadler. Sarah, please come up and receive your award. Sarah, will you please come up and receive your award? Our next award is the W. Lee Johnson Award, presented to the graduating student with the highest cumulative grade point average. This year's recipient of the W. Lee Johnson Award is also the class valedictorian, Matthew Ciccone. Matthew grew up in and attended college in Los Angeles, California. During law school, he was the director of the Public Interest Board and president of TU's Federal Bar Association Student Chapter. He received 7 Cali Awards and placed 3rd nationally as a member of the National Health Law Moot Court team. He also worked as article selection editor for the Tulsa Law Review and placed 1st in multiple Board of Advocate competitions. Before law school, Matthew worked in higher education as an admission counselor for the University of Tulsa and his alma mater, Occidental College. After graduation, Matthew will complete a 2-year federal clerkship with Judge P.K. Holmes in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Matthew, please come up to the podium and accept your award. Matthew will now give the valedictory address.
Thank you, Dean Grundy, thank you, Dean Griffin, and the faculty, staff, and everyone here. It's truly an honor to be standing here today as a valedictorian. It is not something I imagined when I started law school, and I'm grateful for the experiences that led me here. Like many of us, preparing for this day has caused me to reflect on the past 3 years, and I was recently reminded of a family tradition. When I was growing up, every year, my aunt and uncle would throw a Labor Day sleepover for me and my 3 siblings. During those sleepovers, my aunt would plan meticulous scavenger hunts around my hometown of Eagle Rock and downtown Los Angeles. And as I look back, it turns out that law school and my aunt's scavenger hunts are pretty similar. I had to rely on teamwork to make it through to the end. My aunt would pair us up in teams, and her clues forced us to work through the scavenger hunt, bit by bit. It was working as a team, being together, that I was thinking about recently. Our first year of law school, we were forced out of the classroom, away from our friends, away from our professors, And it was difficult to get through those initial months of isolation while trying to learn constitutional law and property. But it forced us to adapt to the situations that we were presented with. We had to redefine what together means. Our roommates became our peers, our pets and our houseplants became our study groups. We had to bounce ideas off of our significant others. In fact, my wife audited most of my classes from the other room, and she may know evidence better than I do. So, thank you, Professor Adams. Law school can be an isolating experience, but our graduating class is a special one. We relied on each other, we kept each other going, we supported each other. And we will continue to do so after we walk across this stage tonight. Our time at TU may be over, but the way we support each other will continue on. I'm thankful for every single one of you who has supported me along the way, from sharing outlines or David Dossman's flowcharts, to study sessions, to late night FaceTime calls or texts to talk about anything but law school. We only got through this experience together, and we're only going to get to where we're going together. I especially want to thank my wife, Camille, who equally shares in this diploma, for supporting me, my family and friends for supporting me, all the families and friends in the audience, the faculty, staff, and administrators who have helped get us here. All of the graduates would not be here today without your support. Whether your next step is the bar or even just a scavenger hunt, remember not to do it alone. Rely on those people who will support you and let them get you to the finish line. Thank you.
The graduation remarks will now be given by the Student Bar Association President, Trevion Freeman.
It was June 6, 1921, just 5 days removed from one of the worst race massacres that this country had ever seen. Sitting amongst the fiery ruins and rubble of what was just 6 days before that day, black homes and businesses set a small red cross tent. In it, black attorneys B.C. Franklin, I.H. Spears, Secretary F.E. Thompson sat. In fact, an image and picture of what I'm describing here today can be seen in museums as far as the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., and as close as just a few blocks down in downtown Tulsa. Using the remaining books and typewriter that they had from their destroyed law office of what would be coined Black Wall Street, Mr. Franklin and Mr. Spears can be seen looking through these books to find a solution to the problem that they just had occurred, as Ms. Thompson can be seen sitting in the back, typing. You see, I love this grainy black and white image from 1921 because I believe that it speaks to the lawyer and future lawyer of tomorrow. It states that, yes, you may destroy my office, you may destroy my home, you may even hurt my friends, my family members, and the acquaintances that I have, but as long as I still have breath in my body, as long as I'm still able to speak, read, write, and type, I will continue to advocate for others, be a voice for the voiceless, and seek justice at every turn. To my classmates and future colleagues, we ourselves have been in our own proverbial Red Cross tent. No, not something created by hatred or envy like the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921, but as the result of the unforeseen toxic combination of pandemic, law school, and so much more. Nevertheless, what Mr. Franklin, Mr. Spears, Ms. Thompson, and the rest of the survivors of the race massacre understood is that in moments of crisis, when things are out of your control, the only thing that you can do, the only thing that they did was stand together. Because if you are divided, you will certainly fall. Now, whether you know this or not, this has been the motto for our class from August 2019 to May 2022. You see, we stood together as many of us enter law school our 1L year, being confused as to what Professor Parker, Professor Buchan was saying to us as they called our names in class. We stood together during a global pandemic in which many of us again became confused entering a virtual law school, or as we called it back then, Zoom School of Law. And we stood together when we went to quote unquote back normal this year. We stood together as many of us got married or had children. I just want to say shout out to all the law school babies out there. Now, y'all may not know who I am right now, but ask your parents someday about Uncle Trevion. You know? No, we stood together when many of us lost loved ones during a heated presidential election and racial unrest during the summer of 2020. You see, when it comes down to it, it's not about the opportunities that we missed or each of the personal obstacles that we had to face over these past 3 years, but rather it's the fact that in spite of those obstacles, that simply by us standing with our friends, our family members, our mentors, our professors and faculty, and everyone else that you see here today, we were able to accomplish so much over these past 3 years and be at this moment and at this time right here graduating with our Juris Doctorate degree. Now, I'm no fortune teller, but I do know 3 things for certain. Now, the first thing I know for certain is that we will each pass that bar come July 26 and 27. Now, I'm just gonna put that into the atmosphere now, you know. The second thing that I know is that we will each ultimately be successful in something in our lives. Now, in order for us to achieve this goal, in order for us to overcome the obstacles it would take for us to get there, it will require that we continue to stand for one another, that we continue to provide a helping hand to others, knowing that we did not get here today solely by ourselves. The last thing that I know is that we will each be faced with the unknown, or what we consider to be a failure in our lives. And when moments of that unknown come, and when we sense failure on the horizon, all I suggest for you to do is for you to go back to your proverbial Red Cross tent and seek the assistance of your friends, your family members, your mentors, your colleagues, and again, everyone else that you see here today, knowing that there's nothing too difficult or too impossible for us to overcome, because we've already been through the hard times. We've already accomplished so much, and yet we are still standing here today. It was an honor to serve as your Student of Bar Association president, and although my role as president has come to an end, my role as friend and colleague lasts forever. If there's ever any time that you need anything, there's ever any time that you need someone to continue to stand with you, I'm simply just a phone call or email away. It's at the bottom of my email list. You know it by heart, possibly. The good times that we had were many. And during the hard times, I take solace in knowing that I had people in my tent that I could rely on, that I had people in my tent that were willing to stand with me. Thank you, and congratulations to us. Love you.
Now we'll begin with the honor of hooding our graduates. Associate Dean Karen Grundy will announce the graduates by their names. Please hand Dean Grundy your card when you approach the stage. Associate Dean Mimi Martin will assist me in the hooding ceremony to my right. We'll begin with that process now.
Our first graduate is receiving the LLM in Energy and Natural Resources Law and the Juris Doctorate degree. Shayla Witherspoon. Lauren Poss. Abby Lynn Lamprick Jones. Madeline Claire Sharp. Kristen Knudsen. Sarah Christine Sparks. Miranda Ann Carol Snodgrass. Karsten Irwin. Kristen Nicole Stabro. Melanie Sanders. Catherine Parmer. Caitlin Barrett. Colin Butler Crisp. Madison Boone. Rachel Lachelle Johnson. Ashley Langston Ailey. William Tyson McDougall. David Mason Aaron Dossman. Kevin Finnegan. Jacob Purdom. Austin Canfield. Savannah Tryon. Abigail Emma Bauer. Paige Phillips. Alyssa Kaler. Valerie Indubike. Caroline Elizabeth Gresset Besner. Sierra Sipes. Lauren Crane. Lucy Dawson. Andrew David Stevens. William Browning Wilson, Jr. Lance Lees, Jr. Aaron Lane. John Paul Blaines. Laurel Sitton. Meredith Tan. Dylan Walker. Tyler Stevens. Mason McMillan. Corey Ann Kirtley. Megan Elizabeth McIntosh Ferris. Samantha Barber. Hunter Gray. Bailey Riles. Michael Campbell. Quinn Fields. Kyle Ainge. Sherrod Donnelly. Aubrey Watson. Edward Park. Justin Smith. Jack Armstrong. Joseph Hallman. Sean Fitzgerald. Mark Jacks. Jacob Vanderslice. Sarah Sadler. Matthew Stephen Russo. Alexander Tarkowski. Harry Hertz. Jessica Haney. Sadie Gardner. Candy Shelton. McKenna Rhodes. Weston Cox. Jacob Weideman. Deward Grant Girdham. Matthew Ciccone. Trevion Freeman. Our next graduates are receiving the Master of Jurisprudence in Indian Law. Amy Johns. Irene Herder. William Walton. Aria Holloway. Melanie Batiste. This concludes the hooding of the graduates.
Join me in one more round of applause for the class of 2022. You may now move your tassels from the right to the left. After the ceremony today, we would invite you to join us at the College of Law for a reception in honor of the graduates. We hope that you will join us, but congratulations to our graduates and congratulations to the families here. I would now invite Chaplain Francis to lead us in the benediction, after which we will recess to the reception at the College of Law.
Thank you, Dean Griffin, and it's been enjoyable to be here with you, as it always is. I also like to see how you all handle the hoods. You know, if you move a certain way, it kind of jerks you back, right? Well, that's the law. I mean, you are a servant, officer of the law. You will be once you will successfully pass the bar. I am sure 100% of you will. And now you go with this mantle on you. Like Elijah passed off to Elisha, it's a mantle. It's a mantle that binds you now. That's a mantle you cannot get rid of. And it's a mantle that is a milestone in your growth. You now have knowledge, which will pull you back if you move in directions it shouldn't. But now you must have wisdom. You've had great faculty, you've trusted them. Now you have wisdom. Now you begin to serve. Now you begin to advocate. And so my prayer for you as we leave this place is that you always have that hood just a little bit tight. to remind you that you are not free on your own, but you are bound by your duty. And that duty is to think, to have the wisdom, the critical skills to see the larger world, and to take care of your clients, to serve them, to advocate for them, to continue to fight for them, like Attorney General Hill said, to fight because you know you're right, because you have the law. My prayer is for you to have that energy and that zeal, that hope for justice. We're very proud of you here at the university, and we wish you the greatest and best. And I pray that God would be the one guiding your steps to care for the children most in need, to guide them in your profession of law. We are dismissed.